Hello again from wherever you're watching. Today I wanted to do just a little impromptu video while I went out for an afternoon walk. I'm just down here at the beach, and in the background you can hear the cover band just at the resort just up the road playing away, but we should do alright for sound. So if you read my most recent article, you'll see that I explained why I'm not really sold on the next big thing. And as somebody who works in marketing, this may come as a surprise to you, like shouldn't I be advocating whatever the next big thing is? But taking a look through the article, you'll see that for probably the previous 5 years, I began to get this hunch that maybe we truly didn't live in the best age there ever was. Because, you know, when you're a kid, I remember especially you'd hear your parents or grandparents or adults talk about how things were better back in their day. This was better, that was better. And I was a 90s kid. We had colour TV, 3D video games, the internet was just coming in. So we had all this technology, and I'd hear older people talk about how things were so much better in their day, and I'd think, really? Like, you guys had black and white movies, and what did you have to play with? Like bicycles and hula hoops. How could you honestly say things were better? But getting older, you start to realise that maybe they had a point. Like, there are certain ideas and principles that have proved themselves to be the best ideas and principles throughout time. And technology might change, but the human condition doesn't. And the more that you study history, the more you realise that. So, like I said, when I was a kid, I really thought that the age that we lived in was truly the best time to be alive. And I'd look at events that happened, say, 100 years previous or 200 years previous, and the old black and white photos and drawings and that sort of thing, and the old technology, and I'd feel so relieved that I didn't live back then, because if you were born into wealth, it just seemed like your life was dictated to by these very restrictive expectations and social, like these social dynamics. It was very rigid. It was a very rigid social structure if you were born into wealth. If you weren't wealthy, then life just seemed to be this grim struggle pretty much from when you were 12 or 13 years old and you went out to the workforce up until your death in your 50s, as a life expectancy was. And so I felt so relieved that I didn't live back then. But again, getting older and just seeing the way things have changed so much, even in my lifetime, I'm not convinced that the next big thing is necessarily the best thing. I'm not convinced that newer is better, or that the freshest is the best. These days we hear so much talk about progress and progressive ideas, but I think the problem is that, thanks largely to a lot of the media, we've come to automatically associate progress with being a good thing. Like, if you think about, if termites could talk in our language, they'd call what they did progress. You look back at some of the most bloodthirsty regimes of the last 100 years even, and they thought what they were doing was progress. Was that a good thing? No, it wasn't. So, look, technology's great. I mean, right now as I'm talking to you, I'm recording this on my iPad, and as soon as I finish doing this video, I could send it straight away to my phone. And, I've got this device in my pocket right here. Like, if I pick out this phone, right, here's all the information that I used to have to go down to the library and spend half a day looking through these weighty encyclopedias for. So I'm very grateful for that. It's internet technology that's enabled me to run the business that I do and to have the lifestyle that I do, and I'm very grateful for that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it is the best of times, full stop. As I explain in my most recent article, I've actually got a link to the article that got me thinking about all this, and it talks about the phenomenon of the small, what this guy calls the small-souled bugmen. And he goes into more detail on that, but essentially he's talking about people who are they don't really have a core identity. They don't really have a belonging to any particular culture. And a lot of this has to do with this society that we live in now, where despite having all this technology at our disposal and being so highly individualistic as a society, we've lost something in terms of a sense of collective identity or a sense of community. And we've missed out in a lot of ways. And it's not a healthy thing. Like I said earlier, there are true and tested principles, and regardless of changes in technology, they are still the best principles. Just because an idea is an old idea doesn't mean that it's a bad idea, or that's one that should be discarded into the trash can. So, sure, fashions and fads may change, but we need a core set of principles to live by. If you don't have those core set of principles, then you're more malleable, you're more easily influenced, and you can lose some of your own identity in the process. And I think this has happened so much where people don't really know what they truly stand for, and people aren't aware of their principles, and this is why we see a lot of people with this crisis of identity. And it's not a healthy thing. Like, we've lost the ability to engage with one another, the art of respectful debate. You can log on social media any day of the week, and there's so many people just not giving people the respect that they really deserve. And we've lost something in that. So, I mean, it's ironic right now. You can probably hear Bob Marley playing there in the background. But look, technology is a great thing, and some ideas are better ideas. Sometimes newer ideas are better ideas, but it's not necessarily a be-all and end-all. And sometimes there are older principles that we should stick to, and you need to work out. Progress comes from within, not from outside. If you really want to make true progress in the sense of things actually getting better, it's got to start from in here. And you've got to make up your own mind what you're about and what you represent. And don't be convinced by the chattering masses that tell you that just because something's newer means that it's better, or that because it's the current year that this is what your view should be on an ideological topic. In some ways, yeah, we live in a great age, but in other areas, there's a lot of things that we can do better as a society. And there's no point making millions and having all this business success if your personal life isn't a success. If you don't have that community, you don't have that core identity. So that's something for you to think about this week, guys. Go ahead and check out the article for yourself, and I'd strongly encourage you to take a look at the link that I've got in there, which is talks about the phenomenon of the small-soiled bug man. So you can see what got me into this train of thought in the first place. But take a look at it for yourself, guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. Share this video with anybody you think it could benefit. Otherwise, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my afternoon, and I'll talk to you guys all again very shortly. Catch you later.